How can you survive backpacking and camping when temperatures get extremely cold? Better yet, how can you build a system that's going to keep you warm and comfortable? Today, I'm going to do a deep dive into the system that I've spent years developing in order to sleep comfortably in extreme cold. I'm talking minus 40, minus 50 degrees. This system just uses the heat from your body, no fires, no hot tents, no hand warmers, and no heaters. We're going to deconstruct this system starting at the bottom with the ground insulation and then working our way up, talking about the technical reasons why each of these pieces of gear contributes to keeping you warm in extreme cold. The first item, which is right on the ground, is the Nemo Switchback foam mat. There's a few different reasons why this foam mat is amazing. First of all, it adds insulation to the entire sleep system. It has an R value of 2. R value is used to measure the warmth of sleeping pads. Basically, they take a hot plate and then a cold plate and then sandwich the sleeping pad in between that and then measure how much energy it takes to keep that hot plate warm. Because the hot plate is going to be having its heat drawn through the sleeping pad into the cold plate. That's an important factor to know, is that you don't necessarily feel cold, you feel heat loss. All the insulating layers that we're going to talk about today are to prevent heat from being drawn from your body into cold things like the ground or the air around you. The second good thing about the Nemo Switchback is that it can act as an insulative layer for when you're sitting around camp, whether you brought a chair with you or you make a snow chair. It provides some insulation so that your butt and your back are not getting cold. The third good thing about it is that it sticks to the ground a little bit better than the sleeping pad that we're going to talk about in a second here, so that you're not kind of slipping and sliding around on snow or ice. That third point is really only important if you use floorless shelters like I have behind me with the Black Diamond Mega Light 4. I like floorless shelters personally because they're lighter, and then when you have frost build up on the inside, you can just shake it off and it's no problem. Whereas a fully enclosed tent, that frost is probably going to turn into snowballs that you're then going to have stuck inside your tent that you're going to be carrying with you for the rest of your trip. On top of the Switchback, we have the Thermarest X-Therm NXT sleeping pad. This sleeping pad is my go-to for winter time because it's insanely warm, but also very lightweight. The size regular that I have here, which is important, weighs 440 grams. The reason why I go a size regular is because it's just less surface area to make contact with the cold air around me, which is just gonna suck more heat out of me into the sleeping pad and then into the ground and the air. The X-Therm NXT has an R value of 7.3, so you get a stacked R value of 9.3, which is very, very warm. The X-Therm NXT uses 2 technologies in order to provide insulation as well as have a very low weight. The first one is thermocapture technology, which is essentially just reflective film that's suspended throughout the pad, and that prevents radiative heat loss. So the reflective film will reflect your heat back up to you, and then you won't have as much heat loss. The second thing is triangular core matrix, which breaks up the entire pad into a series of triangular cells, which helps prevent convective heat loss. That means it's less likely that the warm air that you've spent a lot of energy and effort heating up inside the pad is not going to travel to colder spots and then cool off, and then you're going to have to spend more time heating up more space. As I've been testing sleeping pads under the new R value ASTM standard, I found that convective heat loss is difficult to measure with the ASTM standard testing procedure, but is very important when you're out in real world conditions. But then that thermocapture technology preventing radiative heat loss is one of the best ways to have a lot of warmth at a low weight. Check out packwizard.com if you want to see the most powerful gear research tool on the internet. You can search over 280 sleeping pads, filter them by R value, and then see which ones are the lightest weight. Spoiler, the X-Therm is going to come out on top as the best warmth to weight ratio on the market for winter pads. Check out PackWizard as well as all of the gear that we're talking about today at links in the video description. For a pillow, I'm using the X-Ped Mega Pillow. There's 3 reasons why this pillow is great for wintertime. First of all, you have little loops on the side here so you can add a pad strap and then lock it onto your sleeping pad. The last thing you want, especially when it's cold, is having to chase your pillow around your tent. The second thing is that it's nice and wide. So as you kind of toss and turn, you don't lose positioning on the pillow and you're always going to have your head nice and warm and comfortable. The third thing is that there's a little bit of insulation in the top of the pillow here, which is important in the wintertime because with an air pillow like the X-Ped Mega Pillow, you can lose a lot of heat from your head into the pillow if there's not insulation. Another option, which is probably even better and warmer than the X-Ped, is the Nemo Philo, but I don't find it quite as comfortable because it's not as wide and it's not as tall. In order to provide top insulation and keep you warm from the air around you, we're gonna have a sleeping bag and quilt system. The sleeping bag is going to be the bulk of the insulation. There's a lot of down in this Thermarest Polar Ranger sleeping bag, 970 grams of 800 power filled down. But I also think while having a really warm sleeping bag is important, that the quilt that we're going to talk about in a second here is almost a more important aspect of this entire system in order to keep you warm and comfortable at very low temperatures. Let's go over why I think the Polar Ranger is one of, if not the best winter sleeping bag out there. First of all, you're going to notice this snorkel at the top here. If you don't know what this is for, it's very cool. Basically, it's a synthetic rim that creates a pocket of warm air around your face so that your face isn't getting cold throughout the night. Because that synthetic material, as well as the tube that it creates, it helps manage moisture from your breath as you're breathing. So you're not going to have as much moisture influencing and compromising the down around your head area. As we move down the sleeping bag, we have a really awesome no snag center zipper. Snagging a zipper and then dumping a bunch of down out of your bag or having to repair the bag in the middle of the night when it's super cold is dangerous. It could even be deadly if you got into the wrong kind of scenario. So having a zipper that doesn't snag, I think, is actually very important and something that a lot of people probably don't consider. On either side of the bag, we have these other zippers, which are armhole / vent zippers. So if it's a lot warmer than you need the bag to be, you can unzip that center zipper or unzip these side zippers and dump some heat. They're also really nice to act as armholes so that if it's very cold out, you can stay inside of your sleeping bag and still do some things around your tent. You could cook meals, do whatever you need to do, and still have the bulk of your body inside the sleeping bag and warm. Something that I think Thermrest has done an amazing job that really makes this bag stand out are the draft tubes around the zippers for both the armholes, the center zip, as well as around the neck in order to lock in heat and prevent drafts. Not only do the draft tubes help prevent drafts around the zippers and then the neck, but they also fill up a lot of the space inside the bag, and reducing dead air space inside of a sleeping bag means that there's less air that you need to be heating up, which makes it a lot more efficient as far as the sleeping bag goes. Not having a lot of airspace inside of the bag means that your body's gonna have to spend less energy heating up that airspace, and you're overall gonna be warmer because of it. And the bag doesn't even weigh that much, just under 1,500 grams for the size regular that I have here, which is very lightweight for a bag that has all these features and sleeps this warm. On top of the sleeping bag, we have a synthetic quilt. This is the Enlightened Equipment Revelation Apex. It uses Apex synthetic insulation, which is basically just a big sheet of material that is then sandwiched in between the shell fabric. And there's 3 reasons why the quilt is essential for this sleep system. One of them being probably one of the most important things for staying warm when temperatures get extremely cold. The first thing is obvious. It's kind of like the Nemo switchback. It just adds another layer of warmth. And as you stack warmth, you're just creating more resistance to heat loss to the air around you. The second thing is that I use pad straps on the sleeping pad and then attach the quilt to that. And that keeps you centered on the sleeping pad. You don't want to be rolling off your sleeping pad throughout the night and then maybe making contact with the ground and getting cold. So having those pad straps and then the quilt helps keep you centered. The third thing is moisture management, but more importantly, moisture management in order to not compromise your insulation. Your body produces a lot of water vapor throughout the night, and that water vapor travels away from your body through the insulation. And as it moves further away from you and towards the cold air around you, it starts to condense into liquid water. What you don't want is for that water vapor to condense inside of down insulation, like with the Polar Ranger, because it's going to compromise that down and then reduce the effectiveness of your insulation. So you're moving the dew point, which is the point at which the water vapor condenses into liquid, out of the down insulation of the Polar Ranger and into the synthetic insulation of the Apex quilt, where it's going to be able to get handled a lot better. As soon as temperatures get down to -15, -20, I'm bringing a synthetic over quilt like this one, because you really compromise your down insulation quickly if you're not managing moisture properly. The last component of an extreme cold sleep system is your clothing. I start off with a merino wool synthetic blend base layer on my legs and my top, and then have fleece pants and a fleece sweater. On my feet, I'll wear fleece socks and then synthetic booties. And then if it's very cold, I'll add in down pants and a down jacket, but I haven't needed that yet with this sleep system. Maybe if I take it down to -60, we'll see. If you like gear lists, go check out this video where I go through my ultralight but ultra comfort gear list. I put together a gear list that doesn't compromise comfort at all, yet still weighs around 10 pounds. I think this gear list is going to be the best one for the majority of people out there, because they are going to get that balance of weight and comfort.